Good everyone, my name is Graphics. Now this is another problem in instrumentation and control where we're having this block diagram, right? And we're told to look for the transfer functions, right? Now if you look at this, we have one takeoff point, which is this, right? And we also have three summing points, which are called the summer, which is 1, 2, 3, and we have 4 gain in form of block. This is 1, 2, 3, 4. This is the input signal, this is the output signal, and there is a negative feedback. There's also what? A negative feedback. Now the first thing you have to do here, there are different things you can do, but using analytical method, right, we will write this diagram to become something like this. So this is what we are having, right? Now what do you notice is happening here? There is a negative feedback here, right, in form of theta output is coming back, so it's like they are in series, right? The negative feedback is to be h2 times theta naught, and that is what I am putting in here, right? And also there is also a negative feedback here coming in here, which is theta naught. So I went ahead, I placed in theta naught coming in, right? Now I can say that this is, I can put it this way and say this is my A, right? And I can also put it this way and say that what? This is my B, right? I can say this is also my C, and I can call here also my D, if I want to do it that way. See the way I went about it? We have A, B, C, D, right? So let's start. Either you do it that way or you break it further. So let's see how that goes. So first of all, my A is giving me, because if you notice this is coming in this direction, that means we're having two input signal. These two signals are coming here, the negative feedback and this. So this is a summing point. So it means that the A here is equals to theta 1 prime prime plus theta naught. So I'll call it equation 1. You can see that I'm adding these two, this plus this, representing my A. Now I can move further and go to B, and I'll say that B is equals to, now what do you notice? This times this is A, right? It will be H1A, right? We have H1A, that is B, H1A minus H1A plus theta 1 prime. You can see that? Because the H1, this one coming in is a negative, but this is what? Positive. That is my B. I'll call it equation what? Equation 2. Then the next one should be C. So the C here is going to give me G1B. So I can put it here, G1B, and that is what? Equation 3. C is what? G1B. And D is giving us what? C minus what? H2 theta naught. So D is equals to what? C minus H2 the output, right? That is equation 4. Then the last but not the least, which is the output itself, will now give me G2D. I'll time it equation what? 5. I'm going that way too. That's all we have here. So, like I said earlier, you will now go upward this way. Right? So let's start. From equation 5, substitute D equals to C minus H2 theta naught, right, into equation 5. So we'll put that. So we're having theta naught is equals to what? G2. When I'm writing D, I'm going to put C minus H2 theta naught. Right? So if I expand it, the theta naught here will give me G2C, because G2 times C will give me G2C, minus this time will give me G2 H2, then the output. Right? So I'm going to call it equation what? Equation 6. Now moving forward, I'm going to put substitute C equals to what? G1B into equation 6. You need to remove the C, right? So if I substitute it, I'll be having the output equals to what? G2. When I'm writing the C, I'll put open brackets. We have G1B. Is that taken? Now we're having G1B, so I'm writing G2, then there's a C. There's the C we have. So minus G2 H2 theta naught. So I'm going to call this equation what? 7. Now the next thing is I need to remove this B, right? But I know what B is. So I'm going to input the B. So inputting the B, I'm going to be having this. So I'm going to substitute. Let's move forward. So what I'll do here is, alright, substitute B equals to, if you look at B is giving me theta 1 prime plus theta 1 prime minus H1A. Look at what I did here, so you'll be able to understand what I want to say. If you look at this, it is minus H1A plus theta 1 prime. So I rearranged it, right? So it's giving me theta 1 prime minus H1A. So let's go back there and see. So this is what we have here. Now if I want to rewrite it, input it into this equation 7, so I'll substitute it into what? Equation 7, right? And I'm going to be having this. So in having that, this will now give me the theta naught equals to G2 G1. So what is B? B is this. So I'm going to write this out. So that will give us theta 1 prime minus H1A, close it up, minus G2 H2 theta naught. So I'm going to term it equation what? Equation 8, right? So we're moving forward. So if I want to expand this, I'll say that the output signal is equals to G2 G1 theta 1 prime minus G2 G1 H1A minus G2 H2 theta naught, right? So I'll call it is still my equation what? Equation 8. Because I expanded it, it's still equation 8. Right? Now what do I have that is not supposed to be there? That is letter A. So I'll say that substitute, right? A equals to, so what is our A value here? The A value we have is given as what? Theta 1 prime prime plus theta naught. Put A equals to what? Theta 1, the input signal, plus the output signal, into equation what? 8. So I'm writing this out now. I'm going to write it as saying theta naught is equals to G2 G1 theta 1 prime minus G2 G1 H1. Then what is A? A is giving us what? Theta 1 prime plus theta naught. So this A here. I'll close the bracket, minus G2 H2 theta naught. So if I expand this, I'm going to be having theta naught is equals to G2 G1 theta 1 prime minus G2 G1 H1 theta 1 prime. I use this to multiply this in what? A minus times plus will give me minus, then this times will give me G2 G1 H1 theta naught minus G2 H2 theta naught. Now you collect like terms. All the output signals should be in the left hand side, right? So here I'll be having the theta naught, right? I have an output signal here. This is come here becomes positive, plus G2 G1 H1 theta naught. This will come here also, plus G2 H2 theta naught, right? Equals to, I still have this here, the input here, G2 G1 this, right? Then minus G2 G1 H1 this prime, right? So I'm having this. Now if you look at it very well, if you bring out the output signal, what is common in everything, I'm going to have we'll be having the theta naught, open bracket, what will remain here, the quotient of theta naught here will be what? 1, plus we have G2 G1 H1 plus G2 H2. So this is what we have. So if you expand this, you'll be having all this, and this will be giving me, now we know what it does be the input into bracket G2 G1 theta 1 prime minus G2 G1 H1 theta 1 prime. Now we are going to divide both sides, because the overall transfer function is the output signal over what? The input signal. So that means you divide both sides by what? The input signal. So dividing both sides by the input signal, we say that the theta naught, the output signal, bracket 1 plus the gain G1, the gain G2, here the gain H1, right? Plus G2 H2, all divided by what? Theta 1, that is the input signal, equals to the input signal into bracket the gain 2, the gain 1 theta 1 prime minus the gain 2, the gain 1 H1 theta 1 prime, right? So I'm dividing this by what? By theta 1. So this will equal this, right? So once it equals this, we are going to be having this. So we're having theta naught into bracket 1 plus g2 g1 h1 plus g2 h2 all divided by what? Theta 1 is equals to what? G2 G1 theta 1 prime minus G2 G1 H1 theta 1 prime prime. That's what we have there, right? So now you now divide both sides, because the overall transfer function, which is output signal or input signal, must remain in the left hand side. So you divide through by this. Dividing through by this, that means this will give me 1 plus G2 G1 H1 plus G2 H2, right? All over 1 plus G2 G1 H1 plus G2 H2. So this will equate this. So we'll say that the overall transfer function will now give me G2 G1 theta 1 prime minus G2 G1 H1 theta 1 prime prime all over 1 plus G2 G1 H1 plus G2 H2. So this is my answer. So the overall transfer function of that network or that control system is giving us this. So if you found this video helpful, please don't forget to click on the subscribe button.